Hello Taurus, welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Taurus is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. These readings are totally free. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Taurus, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. 9 of Wands. This is strength. This is someone with a purpose, right? I feel like you're someone who gives their word. You know, I feel like you don't break promises very easily. I think that you have an inner strength about you that when things are sort of not going very well, when the circumstances are difficult, when you feel challenged, there's something in you that steps up to the plate. There's something in you that will not quit, right? And I feel like you have this intense connection between your conscious and your unconscious mind, you know. Like I feel like you really have an established connection with spirit and with your own sort of, your own true self, okay? And so I think that this gives you a lot of resilience. It gives you a lot of focus. It gives you kind of, it gives you a backbone, right? I feel like maybe you even do some kind of Kundalini meditations, because I feel like you have this heat inside of you. You have this energy inside of you. Yeah, and I think it's really pushing you forward in life right now. It's making you feel kind of fired up. Yeah, let's put this card into a little bit of context. We're going to use the Dove and Serpent spread. We've got a Princess of Cups, a Princess of Wands, an 8 of Wands, a 4 of Cups, and a 4 of Swords. Interesting. We've got a Princess of Swords, 5 of Swords, a 4 of Pentacles, and a Knight of Pentacles. Okay, very cool. Let's select our mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it down over here with Big Red Ant right on top. We're not going to look at that card until the very end. It will tie everything together, and it will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any point during this message you feel like you might know what that card could be, put your prediction in the comments down below. Okay, now, as we look around the room, we notice one thing right off the bat is that there are no major arcana cards. Okay, it doesn't mean that this is not a spiritual reading. It does not mean that spirit has abandoned you. It doesn't mean that spirit's not in the building. Spirit is the building. Spirit is the table, right? Spirit is the field in which you are operating right now. All the minor cards are saying that what you're doing right now, your choices, things that are happening to you, may feel very mundane, may feel very routine, but there is a spiritual force that pervades your life right now. Okay, but it is unseen. It's up to you to realize how it's working through your thoughts, words, and deeds, and through the events of your life. Okay, Spirit's the table. Yeah, we got some fire, obviously. Yeah, you know, good fire. Got a little bit of water. We got our air cards. We've got our earth cards. Fire, water, air, and earth. Pretty balanced. Right? It's pretty balanced, and I think that this may be indicating that something really interesting is happening in your life now, because when we have this elemental balance, it's kind of like saying we're prepared for something, we're ready for something, and I feel like the invocation is just about to take place and the materialization of something. I don't know if this is like going to be the beginning of something really, really new, if like your dream, you're starting to live that dream. This is the card of the dreamer. Okay, so it could be that what's happening in your life right now is you're having a dream. You know, you are realizing what you are aspiring to in life. It's kind of like we don't know what we're working toward, but we're preparing for something. I feel like you've been preparing for things for a long time. I don't know why. It felt like you put on a new pair of shoes recently. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I feel that, but I feel like you got a new pair of shoes. I feel like we're sort of preparing for something. Maybe you feel like you've been packing for something, or you've been getting ready, been arranging things. We don't know why. And I wonder if it's because you're about to go on this really great adventure. You're about to go on this unexpected journey, okay? This is, it's the feeling that we've been preparing for something and we don't know what, but now that it's here, now we realize what it is. We realize what we're aspiring to, okay? So it's the way that we will prepare the temple and then we will invoke spirit, okay? Then we invoke the divine into our lives and we can see how it is bringing everything in our life to life right now, okay? So I feel like what's going to happen for you pretty soon, I say next couple weeks, is that you're going to get a vision of what you really truly want in your life, okay? This is the card of a dream, a desire, a wish, an aspiration, okay? And I feel like we're going to, this is something that is going to inspire us completely. It's going to grip your heart, right? And you are going to do everything in your power to manifest whatever this dream is, to make it real. I feel like your dream starts right now, okay? Because you've been preparing for this for a long time, and now it's here, and now we are being told to pursue this, right? To do the invocations, that you have prepared yourself, and now it's time for you to kind of enter the inner sanctum and have the vision, you know? So I like this card. I think that this is very much, we're feeling drawn on a soul level to something. Yeah. Down beneath the surface, you have a Princess of Wands. I feel like you're somebody you've done a lot of things in your life. Like I feel like you're kind of, you got a good energy. You got this vitality about you. You're very vibrant. I feel like you're sort of, you're getting involved in a lot of different things. You're somebody you're probably like a jack of all trades, right, kind of thing, where you've done a lot of different things in your life, and I feel like you have a vast knowledge of things. You know, you're a very interesting person. I feel like you've done a lot of things in life that most people are like, well, I never even would have thought to do that. Like, that sounds so interesting and so cool, you know? I feel like you maybe don't always have a deeper commitment to things because you like to experiment. You kind of like to bounce around and do a lot of different things, kind of like me, you know? I'm on this thing now where I'm reading a different book every day. I'll read like 1 or 2 chapters. The next day, I'm reading a different book for a couple chapters, and then the next day, different book, couple chapters. Eventually, I'll cycle back around. I sort of have this whole plan that I'm writing out, you know, of like what I'm going to do day to day and how it's going to cycle back around and get to all these books eventually, because I realize that I'm not the type of person that can say, I'm going to read one book until I'm finished with it, and that's it. Why deny our own nature? And you've probably heard me talk about this many times, where it's like at night, I'm like trying to settle down for the evening and read a book. And I have so many books that I want to read because I'm interested in so many different subjects, right? That I have a difficult time picking one book and reading it through until the end. And I end up getting frustrated and bored, and I end up like getting kind of mad at myself because like, why can't I just pick one book and read it till the end, you know? I'm always starting, stopping, and it feels like I'm out of harmony. But why do that to ourselves? Why deny our own nature? I don't want to read one book at a time. You know, I wish I could read 100 books at a time. Well, hey, I can. But I have to do it in a systematic way because I'm also I like to be very organized. You know, I'm neurodivergent. I like to be very organized. I like to have systems in place for things and structures and like the routine of it. But I want to have that diversity. So I figured, you know, why not make the best of both worlds and create a system where I can read a different book every night. So I'm getting the variety, but I'm also cycling through a lot of cycling back to the other things. And it's not just random. It's not haphazard. It's planned out ahead of time, but it's got that diversity to it. And I feel like that's what the Princess of Wands really needs. You know, because otherwise this card is just chaos. This card is just like, I'll do one thing, I don't like it, I'll do another thing. I'm just following this impulse to behavior. and there's no structure or system to it. It's difficult to put this card into a system, and I think that's why we've got our Four of Pentacles here in the position of what we don't want. Because we don't want routine, we don't want structure. The Princess of Wands doesn't want to be locked up in this box. Wants to be free, but if it's just free all on its own with no structure, no order, nothing's going to get done. It's complete chaos, okay? Sort of like the Eight of Wands, right? I feel like you're in a similar boat as I am, because in the recent past, you were trying to do too many things at once. And it may have led to anxiety. I mean, in my own, maybe this reading's for me too, I don't have a strong Taurus placement in my chart though, but it could be that we are getting frustrated, we're getting anxious and nervous and just, really on edge because we can't figure out how to do what we're supposed to do, narrow our life down to one thing and stick with that one thing. Well, maybe the anxiety is being really exacerbated because we're going against our own nature. It's like somebody at college and their parents are saying, you got to pick one major, pick one thing. What do you want to do for the rest of your life? Pick one thing. And that makes that kid nervous. It makes us freak out. We're sweaty and we're nervous and we're fidgeting and we're anxious because maybe that's not our nature, right? Perhaps it's not required that we try to stuff ourselves into a box, pigeonhole ourselves. And so the Princess of Wands doesn't want to get in the box because it doesn't fit in the box. It's not meant to be in the box. So how do we live our true nature, but still have a future, still accomplish something, still have goals, and still have some sort of structure? We have to blend that together, right? And I think my example fits in nicely, at least for me, because I don't have to pick just one book, and that's the rest of my life, or pick one subject, and that's the rest of my life. That we can be a little bit eclectic, that we can be our true selves. And that, I think, is what the tarot wants us to do, is to be our true selves, to remember that we're the magician, right? But all magicians are not the same. Everybody is unique. Every magician is a different person, is a different magician, because we all have different personalities, different genetics, different spirit, different karma, different auras, different energy frequencies, different alignments. And we're all at a different point in our path, right? So we're all very, very, very unique in all these different dimensions. So it's not one size fits all. It's not everybody just needs to pick one thing and do that for the rest of your life. No, some of us don't like that. Some of us want to do a lot of things in our life. And but we still want to feel accomplished. We still need a little bit of structure. Okay. So I think in the recent past, you dealt with this anxiety. And I think you're realizing that you sort of have to follow your heart here. You have to follow your true nature. And that's what the Princess of Cups is trying to do here. Well, both of these. We have three princesses, right? Your mind, your heart, and your will. Okay, are very curious, are very experimental, exploratory. You have a lot of feelings. You have passion and interest and curiosity for a lot of things. You got the triple princess here, okay? And this is saying that you don't want to just be stuck in a box doing one thing for the rest of your life. You want structure and order, and you want to be able to accomplish things and make progress and have goals. Of course, we all do, right? But you can't just pick one thing and do it for the rest of your life. Whether we're talking about books or people, friends, or experiences, or places where you live. Maybe you don't want to buy a house because you don't want to be stuck in one place for the rest of your life. Maybe you travel light. Maybe the mystery card's going to be the Fool or something, right? Where it's just like, I just want to have a backpack full of my favorite things, and I'm going to go travel the world. I don't want, it's almost like we don't want that sense of being stuck or that sense of being locked into something permanently. Okay? But that doesn't mean that we're not successful. That doesn't mean that we don't have a future, that we don't have goals, and that we're not going to accomplish those goals, right? So in the top position, you have the Four of Cups. You're somebody who has tried to force yourself into the box before. You're somebody who is no longer going to ignore what we feel and what we want and what our true nature is, so what your soul is telling you. Your soul as comprised of heart, mind, and spirit. Okay? Your soul, your heart, mind, and spirit. And the body too, up here. Body's participating as well. But as far as your heart goes, you're done denying your true nature, because that's sad, right? That doesn't make us feel good. But I think for a long time we kind of said like, well, okay, I guess there must be something wrong with me. I'm going to do what the world needs me to do. I'm going to do what my parents I'm going to do what society is telling everybody we need to do. I got to pick one thing and I got to do it. Well, times are changing. Okay. Now we see, we see people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s who haven't figured out what they want to do with their lives, right? I know people that they've been in colleges and they've been in doing trade schools, they've traveled, they've been worn many hats, they've had many different jobs, but they've never had just one. And then I know other people that have had one job, one career for the last 30 years. Okay? And if that's your nature, that's your nature. If it's not your nature, don't force it to be your nature, because that puts your heart in this box where we feel like we're not allowed to experience life the way we want to. I'm not allowed to feel good about life because something must be wrong with me and I have to try to conform and I have to stick myself in this particular path and stay in this tract or this groove. Nah. Where we can be creative, we can be experimental, we can be this triple princess here where we are in our soul, in our very soul, our heart, our mind, and our will, and our spirit, right? We can explore, we can be curious, we can love, we can have many desires, okay? And we can be interested in many things, and maybe this is playing out in one particular area of your life or in every area. For me right now, it's playing out in kind of my passion for learning and reading and studying and stuff. I love to read. I love to immerse myself in a book, but it's difficult for me to just pick one and stick with it because I feel like I'm missing out on so many other things. Who says I got to miss out on those things? Because that's what this is. It's kind of like we're closed off now. I'm missing out on everything. I'm just trying to be okay with this one book. I'm trying to just read this one book right now. I've started to read the Chemistry of Conscious States. I can't remember the author. It's kind of an old book. It's from like the 90s. It's old now, But that's my era. I grew up in the 90s. So it feels like, but I'm trying to read that one, and I've gotten maybe halfway through it. And, but there's always that feeling like there's all these other books that I'm missing out on. And when the spirit catches you, right, when you feel that desire, why do we feel like we have to deny ourselves and say, no, I'm not allowing myself to read that book, those other books, because I have to finish this one. So then what do? We just sort of glide through it, and we don't really pay attention. We have to be able to trust our feelings, say, okay, you know what? My interest in this one is sort of waning a little bit, so I'm going to pick up this other book, and I'm going to read this one for a while. But we don't want it to just be chaos and anarchy. We want there to be some structure and order to it, and I think that's very important because you have your 9 of Wands. So you have this ability to commit to something and to give it your all, and for the energy to really rise in you. Okay, there's this sense of purpose behind it all. But I feel like this strength and this stamina and this purpose and this resilience comes from you knowing when to shift and change gears and move into other things. Does that make sense? Because otherwise, this being stuffed in a box doing one thing, I feel like it's going to diminish our vitality here. So we're keeping ourselves fresh and young and alive and vibrant with all of these princesses, and I think that is really, it's kind of, we're in the moment. But 4 of Swords, future position, structure, order, having some kind of a framework to what we're doing. This is a card of truce. I feel like this is us accepting who we are and saying, this is the type of person I am. This is my true nature. Okay, that doesn't mean it's a license to do whatever the heck I want, frivolously, randomly, crazy, chaos, anarchy. No. I accept who I am, but I still need discipline. I still have to have a backbone. I still have to have this strength about me. I still have to have a sense of purpose. I still need some sort of structure and order to it. Structured chaos, right? Not just anarchy. And so we're setting up these systems for ourselves. And like for me, for instance, I'm making a list of all these books that I want to read in kind of a random order. You know, it's cycling through different subjects like mysticism and philosophy and religious studies and science and, you know, neuroscience, things like this. I'm cycling through a lot of different subjects because that's what keeps me in that 9 of Wands, keeps me vital, keeps me energized, keeps me interested, keeps me motivated. I can't wait tonight to go and lie down in bed and read that next book, you know, whatever it's going to be. Otherwise, it's just kind of, it loses its luster. It becomes dull, right? But we need that initial structure. We need to have some sort of a plan to it, okay? So I think going forward, it's important that you accept your true nature, but that you also have a plan so that you can fulfill that nature in a way that is both, you know, energized and productive and, you know, motivated, but also in a way that is sort of disciplined and requires focus and requires study. So you're focusing on maybe one book per night rather than one book for the whole, for a month or 6 months or something. That's going to be too much for me anyway. So focusing on one book every night, and then knowing tomorrow my book, I've already planned out what my next book's going to be tomorrow night. So it sort of takes away the anxiety, gives me just enough structure that I can just be free to immerse myself in that passion and not have to, you know, in the course of one night, go through 10 different books because I can't decide what I'm reading. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. Now, Path of the Serpent, we can talk about the Princess of Swords. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. The readings are totally free. Okay? This is your general energy, and I feel like this is a curiosity. This is really an interest in a lot of things. I feel like you want to make progress in a lot of things, though. You're not just reading for entertainment. You're not just doing this just to feel good for a few minutes, kill some time. No, you're trying to really learn something. You're trying to make progress doing something, whether this is work or school or skills you're trying to learn, or, you know, kind of like art you're trying to do, or something else, some kind of intellectual pursuit. You're somebody that isn't just doing it frivolously just to kill time. You want to actually gain ground. You want to actually learn something, okay? So again, kind of taking it back to me as the example, I'm not just reading to get tired so I can fall asleep. I'm not just reading for entertainment, although I am excited and happy and I feel entertained, sure. But I want to learn, obviously. I want to know more things. I want to contemplate and think of new ideas. I want to expand my mind, expand my life and my consciousness. Trying to gain ground. Okay? In the position of your relationships, you have a 5 of Swords. And this 5 of Swords is kind of it seems almost like an argument. It kind of feels like you're at odds with something still. Okay, we have the 4 of Swords here going forward, which is kind of accepting that this is our true nature and doing our best to fulfill that nature and not deny that in ourselves. Okay. The 5 of Swords in your relationships, I think this is still a little bit of that residual, not confusion, but almost as if we haven't quite settled on the answers yet, because one of the problems when these two cards are very connected, the Princess of Wands with the 5 of Swords, this is inside of you, this is kind of our experience of the world outside of us. If we have this kind of impulsivity inside of us, we're going to have a lot of indecision and a lot of chaos outside of us, right? Because then the combination of these cards is like, I want to read a book, I want to read a book, I want to read this one, no, wait, I want to read this one, no, wait, I want to read that one. And pretty soon, all of our time is lost and it's time to go to bed, okay? So those two cards together, what's inside of us and how we're experiencing the world, those are very connected. So we do need a bit of structure. We do need a bit of a plan so that we don't have this frantic kind of energy and we're not out here still trying to decide. Okay, this is sometimes a card of like a self-defeating kind of energy. Okay? And not to, I know some of you don't like it when I talk about myself, but with the books, if I am spending my entire, let's say I give myself an hour to read every night before I go to sleep. I have 1 hour. If I spend that entire hour trying to figure out, trying to think about what I should read, I've defeated my whole purpose. I've killed, the whole hour's gone. Right? I've wasted it. So we have this plan before to avoid this. We need the Four of Swords before we get here so that we don't, we don't waste all of our time trying to figure out what it is we want to do. We plan it. It's almost like planning the spontaneity, planning the chaos, putting a little bit of order into it so that we can take the most advantage of the time we have. Because your Princess of Swords is trying to go right into doing the thing, but now it's met with, okay, we were trying to make progress, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I need. I don't know what to read at this time. I don't know what decision to make. So we want to do something about that, and that's why we have the fours. We have 4, 4, and 4. Okay? Of course, we have the 8 and the princesses and the 5, and so there's this kind of blending of order and chaos here in your reading. The 4 is what we need, even though this is what we don't want. Sometimes what we don't want is what we need. This is the box. The Princess of Wands doesn't want to be put in this boundary. Sometimes this is a little bit of a boundary. Sometimes, and this is my list of books. Day 1 through 7. Day 8 through 14, like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, like this is what I'm going to do. And, it's maybe even just the day before. You're going to write down, okay, what am I going to read tomorrow? Okay, this is going to be the book. And then that's it. And then when tomorrow rolls around, I already know what I'm doing. And so that time from that 60 minutes, start from minute 0, it's going to be, I'm immersed in that reading, okay? And it's kind of an inside joke. If you've been with the channel a long time, I used to talk about it all the time because I was so frustrated at night. I can't figure out what friggin' book to read, because I have so many. Because all I've done in my life was go to like used bookstores and thrift stores and just buy like books for like $1. Now I have so many of them, they're just piled up. But anyway, so we need that sort of routine. We need that structure and order to it. Sometimes routine helps us to accomplish our goals in the way that we need to. But we can't have routines that are stifling or restricting or constricting our true selves. Okay? You try to put yourself in the wrong routine, you're going to stifle your creativity. You're going to smother your enthusiasm. You're going to snuff out your vital energy. And that's not what we want to do. We need the right kind of routine, the right kind of structure that's going to help us be our true selves. That's going to make us feel like, oh, this is working and I feel good about it. Okay? And if you're like me, you like routine, but you also like the diversity and the spontaneity, and you like the variety of things, It's like I could eat the same thing every day, it just needs to be prepared differently, So the Four of Pentacles is this sort of need for a routine and for a structure in our behavior. Yeah. So it's kind of planning, even if we don't plan weeks in advance, but we can organize something and set up a routine for the next day. It's like, okay, so I know, tonight I'm going to read something. I'm going to probably do another chapter of the Chemistry of Conscious States. Tomorrow, I maybe want to read the first couple of chapters of Faust, right? So that's going to be tomorrow. So it's already set up. So then all I got to do tomorrow is grab the books, sit down and read it. No thought involved. So we pre-plan it so we can do weeks out in advance. I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll just write out the next 100 days, and that'll be the system. But we have to figure out what works for us. Everything is a habit. Everything is a routine. If we do it enough, often enough, and the thing is, we just have to make sure that our routines are working for us, and that they weren't given to us by somebody else. Well, somebody told me I had to do it this way. Well, maybe that doesn't work for us. Okay? What we see next is really nice. It is the Knight of Pentacles, the long-term goal. We're talking about all these daily sort of habits. and the routine and all this variety. And, the princesses of the tarot are very focused on what's happening right now. Okay? The princesses are all about whatever the whim of the moment is, right? And the knight, of course, is thinking about the future, thinking long-term, thinking consequences, thinking, I'm climbing up a mountain here. Am I ever going to get to the top? So it might be this idea that I'm doing a lot of reading, but what is the long-term plan here? Am I ever going to actually finish any of these books? Well, maybe some, maybe not, right? But the idea is that I am making progress in my soul, in my spirit, in my goals. I am progressing. Okay? So we have to know what we're trying to achieve so that we know how to strive. If my goal was to just have a list of books that I've read that I could share on Facebook or something and say, look, I read, 12 books this year, and to check them all off my list, then maybe. If my goal is just to finish something, then maybe I kind of have to look at this differently and say, okay, I need to make sure that I cycle back to, this chemistry of conscious states for a couple weeks until I can finish the book, close it, stamp it, done, and ship it, right? But maybe that's not our goal. Maybe the goal is just to gain an experience, to have this life, to sort of be in the moment and be present and immersed in something and think about new things and really digest the material slowly. And, it's a different kind of goal, but we have to know what our long-term plan is. I don't care so much about checking them off the list and being able to erase them from my list of books, At first, a long time ago, that was the goal. It's like, I just want to start crossing these things off my list so I can see the list get smaller, because that feels good. That's motivating. But then I realized that's a really lousy goal for me, because it hasn't happened yet. It's been years, and I haven't crossed much off the list yet. So maybe that's not the goal for me. Maybe the goal is to be familiar with the material and to be immersed in it and to have a connection with it and to grow a little bit from it. And then cycle back to those things that really stick with me and things I want to learn more about, but to touch on many different things as frequently as possible and grow organically in that way. Okay? So we need the long-term goal. Anyway, we have to kind of think about who we are, where we are, and what we're doing down the road. Okay? Not just someone who's checking books off a list. Someone who's kind of living with the material and being our true selves. And growing in the way that is natural for us. Okay, let's look at the mystery card. What do we want to see here? I don't know. Maybe like a 6 of Cups. Maybe, I think some major arcane. I think we need the Magician here, don't you? Let's see what we have. We have a 2 of Wands, the choice of the fire energy. We have the choice of kind of staying put and doing what we've always done and kind of staying in that frustration maybe. Or we have the choice of sort of going forward and, we're holding the globe here in this card, right? So it feels like we kind of have the whole world in front of us. We don't have to just stay put. This is like somebody who is just, they bought a house and they bought a castle and they're just living at the castle, but they're sort of holding the globe and they're thinking, I really wanted to see the world, And they're saying, I can't though, because I bought this house, I'm stuck here. And so they're denying their true nature. But this person's looking at that globe and thinking, my true nature is to be out here and to be exploring this diversity of this wonderful world in which we live. Whether this is through art or music or reading literature or books, science, whether it's through travel or relationships, whatever this is for you. This is the spirit of exploration. And realizing that we have the power to choose whether or not we follow our true nature or we deny our true nature. Yeah. Now, we're going to do an extended reading as well if you want to stick around. We're going to do an I Ching hexagram. We're going to do some oracle cards. There's a link in the corner. There's a link down below. New readings for Taurus, Mondays and Fridays. Be sure to watch both readings. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. These readings are totally free. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we're all in this together.